Welcome back to Hardware Unboxed. In today's video, we're recapping what happened in our 48-hour NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2080 Ti Founders Edition stress test, which a surprising number of you guys watched. For some reason, you wanted to see a boring screen of a benchmark looping for hours on end. A lot of you were hoping to see it die or catch fire midstream, but at least a healthy bunch of you enjoyed the Q&A we ran at the start of the stream for a couple of hours. So a quick recap of what we were doing in the stream and why we did it. So basically we ran our 2080 Ti Founders Edition card at stock clocks in a Unigen Heaven loop for 48 hours to stress test it and see if the card would fail. We wanted to test this after reports that Hard OCP had a Founders Edition card die under similar circumstances. Our card showed no signs of failing up until this point, so no Space Invaders artifacts or any other issues, but there was a slim chance that running at high temperatures for a long period of time would cause a failure due to one of the components degrading. Again, our setup had the card running at stock. A lot of people were questioning why the card wasn't overclocked, but that really wasn't the point of the test. We merely wanted to see if the card would die under standard operating conditions. We know cards can die when overclocked. The interest was whether the card would die in and out of the box type configuration. The card was in our Core i7 8700K test rig with the CPU also not overclocked and fan speeds was set to auto. Anyway, at this point, you're probably wondering, did the card die? And the answer for people that understandably couldn't be bothered watching until the end of the stream is no. I'm sorry to all the people that wanted the card to die. It was very unlikely to happen, and in the end it just didn't happen. There were no artifacts spotted in the entire 48 hours of live streaming, and the card still functioned perfectly after a reboot of the system. In fact, it's running here, it's all fine, no problems. This was despite the card sitting at around 84 degrees Celsius for a full 48 hours, except for one minor interruption, with backplate temperatures measured through a thermocouple comfortably sitting in the 70 to 75 degrees Celsius range. That's certainly quite hot for a GPU, but not hot enough to get it to malfunction or die. The card not dying does present a bunch of interesting discussion points though. Neither Steve nor I expected the card to die during the test. In fact, we mentioned we'd be shocked if something broke under these conditions, but it seems a number of people in the chat were under the impression that there was a very good chance this sort of test could kill a card like the RTX 2080 Ti. So let's talk about that. Firstly, despite the negative press surrounding the RTX 2080 Ti and its various failures, not every card is destined to fail. Even though our card was shipped to us before launch and presumably came from an early batch before any issues were identified, it was never a situation where you buy one of these cards and you're guaranteed to receive a dud. Everything we've heard so far still suggests the failures have been a minority of cards shipped, a concerning minority for sure, considering the amount of people reporting issues, which seems higher than past flagship GPU launches, but a minority nonetheless. In our case, the RTX 2080 Ti NVIDIA shipped us to review is a good unit that works perfectly fine under standard operating conditions. I'm sure there are plenty of other people out there in a similar position. They bought a Founders Edition model, it arrived, and luckily it works without any problems. Especially if you don't see any Space Invaders artifacts after a few hours, it's highly likely the card is a good one and will remain functional for years. So point number one is simply that not every RTX 2080 Ti Founders Edition will die simply because it's an RTX 2080 Ti Founders Edition. Point number two is that something I guess that cropped up numerous times in the chat as a bit of a misconception, that running a graphics card at hot temperatures will cause it to fail even if it's at stock clocks, which is not the case. Our card ran for the entire 48 hours between 84 and 86 degrees Celsius on the GPU and a scorching 70 to 75 degrees Celsius on the backplate, from ambient room temperatures between 19 and 25 degrees Celsius, and reasonably slow case fan speeds set to their silent mode. The backplate reaching the mid-70s is certainly far too hot to touch, and GPU temperatures in the mid-80s isn't great. You normally want the card running a bit cooler to get the most out of NVIDIA's GPU boost algorithm. But simply running at hot temperatures like this isn't going to cause the card to die unless you modify the card's settings through overclocking or other means. In fact, the card is actually designed to be run around the 84 to 86 degrees Celsius mark. It's the point at which the card's temperature protection algorithms kick in and begin reducing clock speeds to prevent any higher temperatures. It's not a full thermal throttle like you might see on a CPU hitting TJ max, but NVIDIA GPUs begin gently clocking down, or at least not boosting as high, around that 86 degrees point. No doubt the cards can actually run hotter, and in fact do if you up the thermal limit in your overclocking software. This is a basic fact about modern hardware design. If you don't touch anything, a component running under stock conditions will manage itself to prevent damage. GPUs are one such component where this is true, but you'll also see it across CPUs, motherboards, and all sorts of other PC hardware. Of course, there are lots of reasons why running a GPU at a cooler temperature is better. You get less power leakage, so the card will run more efficiently and waste less power at lower temperatures. You'll have more overclocking headroom because of this, and in the case of NVIDIA GPUs, their GPU boost algorithm will push the cards higher when temperatures are lower, with even something like a 5-degree difference allowing for higher clocks. Cards running cooler will also degrade slower. We're not talking about short-term degradation here though, we're talking about after years and years of use, you might get a bit of extra life out of a card that's run cooler than one running near its thermal limits. Again, GPUs are designed to be run near the limit for years on end though, so simply running a card at hot temperatures isn't going to cause an immediate failure. And this is clearly the case with our RTX 2080 Ti here. Running the card at high temperatures for 48 hours, well, basically did nothing for its short-term usability. It still works fine. In fact, nothing has really changed compared to when we first used the card. Will this test impact the 2080 Ti's overall lifespan? Well, probably not in any significant way, and it'd certainly be too early to tell if it did. The final point is simply that yes, you can run a card at 100% utilization for days on end and run into zero issues. Miners, of course, have already proved this, but a few people seem to think that you need to let the card rest and cool down periodically as a typical gamer would between gaming sessions. But GPUs are designed to operate continuously, and there's really no magic timer dictating how long you can use it before it needs a rest. The good news for us is that our RTX 2080 Ti Founders Edition has now essentially been validated to work perfectly, so we can continue using it without any fear of immediate death or needing to go through an RMA process. It also shows to you guys that yes, if you buy an RTX 2080 Ti with a Founders Edition PCB, there's a realistic and highly probable chance that it will work just as well as any other GPU you've owned in the past. At the same time, this doesn't really give any additional insight into why some RTX 2080 Ti's have been failing. And we didn't expect the test to provide any additional information anyway. One card, it's never going to be enough of a sample size to generate any sort of concrete information. And it still seems at this point we really don't know what's going on. We certainly don't expect NVIDIA to provide us with a reason, at least publicly. If you are wondering whether your NVIDIA RTX card is fine, we recommend running a stress test like this for around 12 hours. The RTX 2080 that died on us started to show artifacting around 6 hours in. So if it passes a half-day test, it should be fine. From that point onward, you shouldn't have to worry about the card randomly dying. At least you shouldn't have to worry about that any more than with any other GPU. And that just about wraps up this live stream experiment. We had a bit of fun chatting with you guys live, and hopefully we'll be doing more live streams in the future considering how well this one went. And of course, we'll continue to have our monthly live streams with both myself and Steve, exclusive for our Patreon members. So if you want that more casual type of stream where we just chat about cool stuff in tech, sign up to our Patreon and you'll get access to our exclusive Discord chat while you're at it. Time to switch off the test system and give the RTX 2080 Ti a bit of a rest. I said it wasn't actually necessary, but my power bill will thank me later, that's for sure. Consider subscribing for more fun, or in this case, boring content straight in your inbox. I'll catch you in the next one.